we partner with people a lot on a lot of our flips. And I think when you're initially getting into the business, that's the best way to do it because it's very low risk. You've got some people looking out behind your back, and you're probably partnering with people that have done it way more frequently than you ever have. So my first 2 years in the business, I only partnered on flips. So those 80 flips that I did was always with partners. I didn't have the capital right out of college to be flipping houses. I didn't have the experience. So learning from, the 3 best guys in Jacksonville how to do it was a phenomenal opportunity for me to have. And I would recommend anyone kind of just getting started to partner with someone.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today, based on her LinkedIn resume, I have one of the most interesting guests I've ever had on the show. She's not only an amazing real estate agent and top producer, she's also a real estate investor. She's been involved in over 80 home flips. On top of that, she's a certified flight instructor. I hope this is accurate because this is going to make it for a great show. Let's welcome the amazing young entrepreneur to the show, Mercedes St. George of the Keller Williams Atlantic Partners.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I want to throw out there that you and I guess you want to call your partner Jana are, when you went over to Keller Williams this summer, started the flight group. So we'll be talking about that as well. But I want to welcome you to the show. And Mercedes, tell us a little bit about young Mercedes prior to JU.
Okay.
What were you in high school? What were you thinking, and kind of what led you on your initial choices? Obviously, getting involved in flight and that sort of thing. Was this something in the family? Just tell us a little about young Mercedes.
Awesome. Young Mercedes, she grew up in Northern Virginia, so I was there all 17 years. Mom and dad went there. I mean, we kind of just stuck close. My mom and dad both had experience in the aviation industry. So my dad previously owned a jet charter company. He was retired my whole childhood, though, but always had that interest in airplanes. We were going to air shows all the time, things like that.
Right.
And then my mom worked for United Airlines. I think she's hit 37 years now. She's an old timer. So that's kind of where I got the bug.
She gets to pick her routes.
She's got full reign.
Right,
She's kicking everybody off.
I hear
the
seniors are that choose whatever their routes, whatever, it's just some of them like to do the international travel, right? I mean, some of them like that, just hey, we'll fly over to London, spend the night, and then fly back the next day, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Some people love that. Some people want to be home every night and they just want to go New York to Dulles back and forth. So it's really, you get to kind of pick and choose from there.
Yeah.
But
so you grew up in an aviation family.
Yes, very much focused toward, my dad loves old cars. That's where I got my name, Mercedes. 1956 Gullwing, that's his favorite car. So kind of always around cars, airplanes, all the things.
So what leads you to JU? And obviously you were a business major, if I read that correctly on your LinkedIn, but I know JU has the flight program as well. Was that one of the reasons going there?
Yes. So I decided that was the route I wanted to go. Obviously, that was what I was around my whole childhood. So it kind of just naturally fell into that.
Over Embry-Riddle? Did you look at Embry-Riddle?
I applied to Embry-Riddle. I applied to all the big schools. I got into Embry-Riddle. JU ended up offering the most scholarship money.
Oh, wow.
So got a good little check from them, and that's what decided that.
So was your thought maybe at 17, 18 years old, like, to be a commercial pilot or anything? Was that?
That was that was the goal. So went to JU. The aviation program is within the School of Business there at JU. Phenomenal program. Loved everyone there. Loved the school. All good things to say about it. But ended up picking that specifically because of the scholarship money, specifically because I toured Jacksonville and I actually really, really loved it. That was one of the few schools besides Embry-Riddle that was at the beach, and when you're from Northern Virginia, you can't beat that, It was kind of nice. So coming down here, I ended up doing all 4 years, graduating with a business aviation degree and all of my flight ratings. So you're not wrong that I do have my certified flight instructor
Are you
license.
doing anything with it?
No.
No?
We fly for fun nowadays.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Whereabouts in Northern Virginia were you?
Springfield?
Yeah. My aunt still lives there today. She's been there since the early 60s. Her first school she taught for over 30 years in Fairfax County.
Very cool.
She taught at West Springfield High, and then when Thomas Jefferson Science and Tech became the magnet school
That's the big boy,
she went over there when that opened as she's biology and genetics was her area of
Good for her.
expertise. But yeah, she still lives in Springfield. So
Yeah.
I put some time in Centerville in the 90s.
Nice.
My cousin still lives there, but yeah, we go up and want to visit Washington, D.C. We're in Springfield. Yeah.
It is a good spot. I'm going up for Christmas to see my mom and dad in a few days. So
Yeah.
it'll be nice to go back.
So you graduate from JU. We're spring of 21.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on
What
in your
happened?
mind? Yeah, what happens when you walk into Yellowbird?
Yeah.
Where's the real estate license come in here?
I know. So pretty much I had finished everything. And at that point, it was time for me to go get a flight instructing job. And basically what that is before you can actually go to the airlines, you need to build time. So I graduated JU with probably 275, 300 hours roughly. To actually be able to go to the airlines, you need 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500, depending on the licenses you have. So I graduated, I had interviews lined up, everything ready to go, and then I actually ended up going on a double date. And the guy who I was not on the date with, but good friend of mine now, very good friend
Her
of mine.
boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend. We ended up getting on the topic of real estate, and he worked at Yellowbird, had all great things to say about it, and just, Yellowbird, what it is, what it does. They were around since, I believe, 2017 up until last year. In their top years, they bought, 400 single family houses, renovated, flipped them, and that's what they were. They were the number one investor here in Jacksonville, truly. So got on with them in May of 2021. So right when I graduated, a week later, I ended up getting in with Yellowbird. And really it was just the draw of, okay, well, I still want to be a pilot, but if I ever want to build my own portfolio, if I want to own 100 rental properties, I don't actually know how to do that. How do I do that? And so that's what I wanted to learn from those guys. I just took a part-time job. I answered the phones. I set appointments for the agents to go out on the appointments. And I ended up just falling absolutely in love with it and was like, I think I want to try this for a year. So I ended up giving it a year. I said, I'm going to take 1 year off. 1 year off of flying won't kill me. Like I can always go back to it, right? Yeah. That was the plan. That was the plan, I promise. But ended up taking a year. I went full-time into the agent role. And that's kind of where my real estate really started, is I was going on 3 to 4 cash home buyer appointments every single day, buying houses. And that's where all of those flips came from.
Just 3 or 4 a day. I mean, where, and just so everyone kind of has a picture of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I kind of give a generalization what Yellowbird is doing, and you can clear it up.
Sure.
I mean, obviously they have investors that pooled money together to go out and pay cash for homes. They've got renovation crews. Obviously, they probably try to keep as consistently going from one house to the other because they don't want to lose them by not having business to send them to or work to send them to. You're aggressively out there. Where, and clarify that if that's anything's off or add anything to that, and then where are they finding these?
Where are all these
cash
deals
offers?
coming from?
Where are they digging them up?
Yeah. So keep in mind, the 3 main owners of Yellowbird was Pat, Steve, and Kyle. Kyle just recently sold his rental portfolio for $120 million to Progress Residential, probably 2 years ago now, close to that. So he had spent his entire career building that portfolio. Pat kind of got into the real estate business similar to me, like the hustle, the grind side of it, going out on appointments, purchasing properties for cash, flipping homes like
A little
that.
sweat equity in the
Little sweat equity, yeah, to say the least. It's nasty sweat equity, but fun stuff. And I mean, Steve's just been in the business since forever. He's done it all. So the 3 of them pulled their, brains together, pulled their money together, ended up coming up with Yellowbird. And I mean, we were spending anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 a month on marketing. So marketing was being pumped out at an extremely high rate, hitting every single distressed property in the local 4 counties.
Are you looking up, what's coming on the courthouse steps and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So that's also kind of the hustle side of it. So as agents with Yellowbird, you would have marketing appointments set for you, which was phenomenal. But your real moneymaker, and where as a 1099 employee, where you really wanted to make your money, was on your self-sourced hustle. So that's anything that you're door knocking, foreclosures, tax deeds, divorce,
So where
probate.
you're finding this property of opportunity.
Yes. And that's what we were doing on the side, hustling those leads as well. Individual agents doing that.
Interesting. So, all right. So you come in part-time, you're answering the phone, you go get your real estate license, I would imagine.
I actually waited about a year until I got my license because at that point, I was still very new to the whole thing. And I also was planning on only taking a year. So I was like, I don't need a real estate license, right? I just want to really learn the investment side of it. I want to know, what are the right numbers to buy properties for? How much does it cost? What is the process? How do I get money? What are the connections? I mean, I just had so many questions that I knew if this is what I want to do, like down the line, I want to build this portfolio kind of like Kyle, but on a very small scale, right?
Right.
How do I do it? And that's kind of where it came from. So that first year, I was just hustling.
What do you think, and so I call it an entrepreneurial spirit that you had, because you asked how, why, how is this happening, right? Where the typical 22-year-old probably isn't digging in that deep. They're still trying to save the world with,
whatever the case may be.
whatever their passion that they have. But all of a sudden you like, oh, hold on a second. There's this whole other thing over here. And I love the Patty Ketchum I had her on a few weeks ago. She's, everybody wants to live under a roof. I mean, that was, we were talking about obviously real estate, or being on the real estate commission and our lawsuit and all that stuff. But anyway, everyone wants to live under a roof. And something went off in your head, something ding, and you said, oh, hold on a second. I need to learn about this part right here. And then you said something earlier too about you wanted your own portfolio. Did your parents have rental property or anything like that?
My dad had a few. So keep in mind, my whole childhood, he was retired. So, I mean, he always kind of
tinkered and
hustled too, if you will. It's not like he had like a 401k like that he had coming in every month. His money, what he lives off of every month, is off a couple rental properties up in Northern Virginia, all paid off. I had a little bit of experience to that as well, but not on a large scale by any means. I also never saw his process with them. When I was a kid, he already had them. Like, they were just there. Like, I didn't see how he actually acquired them or managed them or anything like that.
But you knew he was making money off them.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We've jumped way ahead, so we're going to take a slight step back in the chronological order here, because I wrote a few things down. You were attending the L3 Airline Academy as well as JU, and graduating JU with honors. Tell us a little bit, what was your school day like?
What was that like? Yeah. That was busy too. Like I said, aviation program over there and the School of Business at JU really is phenomenal. I loved it because it was a small school. Like, I mean, it's not a big party school at all, but it's a small school to where if you actually want to put in the time and the work, your teachers will notice that and they'll pour back into you. So I had a lot of people over there that really poured into me, and they gave me a lot of opportunities that I'm still very, very grateful for. But big things over there, what a typical day looked like is you're not only going to your typical classes. So we still had to go to English class and, literature and biology. We still had to hit all of those on top of the business courses, because you're graduating technically with a business degree, as well as then a flight block. So L3 Airline Academy has multiple locations all over the United States, and they're basically a flight school. And the location for JU is at Craig Airport. So we would basically have flight blocks 3 to 4 times a week, and you would go drive to Craig, take a little plane up for about 2 hours, do your lesson, come back, land, and then you go on to your next class.
If a young person is looking even just to fly as a hobby or something like that, to attend a school like JU versus being an older person like me and having to, go hire somebody and take it, to have it just like blended into your regular school day, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like, you're going to make sure your butt is there, right? Yeah. Like, you're getting graded on it.
So you graduate with honors. This girl, she does her work. I want to roll off some organizations that you belong to that I think are worth naming here.
Okay.
Women in Aviation, you were VP of that organization.
I was.
For a bit of time. National Society of Leadership and Success, I guess, is that a JU thing or a national?
It's at quite a few different colleges around the country, but you basically get initiated into it.
All right. The flight team, was that just JU's? All the pilot. It
really is like a team. So you go and compete at different competitions across the country, and you do different.
Is it all actually physical flying, or some more technical?
There's like some on the ground,
navigating and things like that.
Yeah, there's some hard math ones that are on the ground. I didn't compete in those, but there's some fun ones that are actually in the plane.
Department of Aviation Safety Committee student rep.
Yes. Basically, I was the liaison between our school, JU, School of Business, and L3, basically being the student representative and letting faculty know of how things are going safety-wise.
Changes in FAA requirements or whatever, that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
This one here, I want a story on.
Okay.
Women's Air Race Classic.
Oh, that was a fun one.
Flying across the country. Tell us about that.
That was one of the things that was a very, very cool opportunity for me that a professor basically has to nominate you for. So I had a couple professors nominate me for it, and that was one of the highlights of my time at JU by far. Unfortunately, we trained, we did it 2 years in a row. Both years that I had the opportunity to do it, they were canceled for COVID. So we got a few test races. Me and another girl, Haley, we were able to do like a 6-stop race, very short. You're supposed to go all the way across the country. I mean, one of them, I think we were supposed to finish going all through the Southeast, through Texas, and then up and land and actually finish in like Kansas City. That's where you're supposed to finish. But COVID, we didn't get to do it, which was no fun.
If you were to run the race, just you flying solo, just you?
You may have one other partner, you may have two partners. It really depends. And it's not just for college girls or anything like that. Really, anyone can go and apply. And if you have a plane and you have a number on the side of your
You all start
plane.
from the same airport, or?
Everyone starts from the same airport. You take off, you go, and it's basically your time between the 2 points is how they test you. Or how they time you.
They have designated spots you're supposed to land at, or
designated spots you're supposed
flying a small
to
plane,
land at, but then
not
also
get you
pass over, and that's how they do it. So you do a pass, and you get your time, and then you come around and land.
Much like I'm thinking just the Tour de France, right? They record the leg, right? They're recording
the legs,
and then who comes in later, that start later, and to the next leg. Interesting. I'm trying to remember who told me this. It was another hobby pilot, but there are places around the country that, like, there's little restaurants, where people they're just like fly-ins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize, like, down in, you may know of others, I'm sure you do. Like down in Daytona or south of Daytona, they have that community that's totally built around an airstrip, and people have hangars, and
would love to own a home on an airstrip like that. That's a one day, someday maybe. Right. Great barbecue up in Brunswick, Georgia. If you ever fly up there, there's a little barbecue spot not too far from the airport.
This has its own airstrip, or
Yep. It's right nearby it. You can walk to it. Flagler's got a good little spot. Naples has a good little spot. Yeah, but I mean, there's even books that people have to where you can like stamp every single airport in the United States that you go to, and you try and like write off every airport in the state. I mean,
to try to touch it.
There's a lot.
Actually, this one, I know this story told me a long time ago. A friend of mine in high school, he was with the, what do they call it? The
Civil Air Patrol?
Civil Air Patrol, yeah. He was part of that. And I get some of these really small rural airports, right? There's nobody in the tower. There's no one there.
Yeah.
You might be flying, and then you could actually click the radio and the lights come on.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no one in the tower to actually turn them on, turn them off. So depending on how many clicks you do, it will initially turn it on, and then it will adjust the brightness of them the more clicks you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my parents were RVers for like 10 years, and that's like a whole little, I wouldn't say, it's a whole little community itself.
Yes.
RVing. Just imagine small hobbyist plane, that's a whole, you've got your, you got your website, you got people telling you story, hey, you need to go check out this, this is how you get there, or whatever, little treasures.
It's fun.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we jumped in, my next thing on my list was we were talking about Yellowbird. Let's go back to that a little bit in what are some hardcore things? I mean, I imagine the list is endless, but some of the most important things, because I imagine, one, as a young person, you probably have a lot of friends who ask you about, hey, is real estate a career to get into? One, but also the fact that you're flipping, that I think everyone who thinks about real estate is a dream. It's just, taking that first step and actually, learning, how to do it and what's important and how to do it. So what are some of, when you're doing a flip in today, doing it yourself, or you and Jana, or just you have a little investor group that you've started, or how do you?
So Jana and I, number one, we partner with people a lot on a lot of our flips. And I think when you're initially getting into the business, that's the best way to do it, because it's very low risk. You've got some people looking out behind your back, and you're probably partnering with people that have done it way more frequently than you ever have. So my first 2 years in the business, I only partnered on flips. So those 80 flips that I did was always with partners. I didn't have the capital right out of college to be flipping houses. I didn't have the experience. I didn't know who to call for the crews. I didn't know how to sell it. I didn't even have my license on the back end yet, right? So learning from, the three best guys in Jacksonville how to do it was a phenomenal opportunity for me to have. And I would recommend anyone kind of just getting started to partner with someone. Jana and I partner with people all the time. We've got lots of other investors that will partner with you if you're looking to start getting into that. And basically what the technical term of that is called is JVing, joint venture.
Right.
And I highly recommend starting with that. It wasn't until this year specifically that I started to do a few of them on my own. And it's a lot more scary on your own.
And I mean, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And I'm saying that because a lot of people go look at a possible flip, and maybe there's a possibility of netting out $20,000 or $30,000, but you've never done one before.
Yeah.
And the mess they can be. My wife and I did one when we first got married.
Yeah.
Great learning experience. Luckily, we didn't lose any money.
That's the best
But
kind.
when we look back, and there was opportunity. There was a HUD home that had been foreclosed on. I've told this story before on the show, but there was a leak in the slab.
Oh.
Well, we went in, the carpet was just nasty. So obviously first thing we did, we tore up all the carpet. We could see where they patched the slab, so nothing was going on. Well, one day we went over there, we hadn't put new flooring down yet. And all of a sudden there's a puddle of water there. I'm like, what is that? Luckily, one of her friends are there. And there was a bathroom at the other end of the house. There was no basement. It was just on a slab. This was in Arkansas. And what it was I believe it was the hot water line. What we discovered was the hot water line, because we shut off the cold water line, and we found it's the hot water line. So we just reran it, boom, because the master bedroom was at the other end of the house, and it was a small house type situation. We got lucky, because you start drilling into a slab, and oh my God, you don't know where the money pit will go with that. So when you first get started, to do a handful, I imagine you work with some people now, but get connected with the contractors.
Yes.
Obviously, I think the one biggest fear, right, is going in and evaluating the property. Dig in a little bit. Like, what are some things you look at? Maybe someone's listening might be one of those people who might partner up. They might say, well, geez, there's a few houses down the street. Maybe Mercedes might be interested in these.
Yeah.
What are things that you're looking for when doing an initial evaluation?
So you're always looking for the ugly house, right? Honestly, the uglier the better, right?
The more weeds,
Truly, because the more sweat equity there is within it. But getting started, really important to partner with someone who's already done it before, already has the experience, already has the connections. When you're able to partner with them
they've
from
already
the
made the
get-go,
mistakes.
they've already made the mistakes.
Yeah.
And some bread is better than no bread, right? I'd rather get some than none.
A lot less stressful.
Yes. So when I'm looking at houses, when I'm first walking through, the big things, the most expensive things are the big 4 points of a house, right? Roof, AC, plumbing, electrical. Those are the big four. Those are going to be your most expensive things to replace, to fix. And, kind of as you're walking through, you're just totaling in your head. I mean, I have rough ranges now, like light, medium, heavy renovation levels.
Right.
Rough numbers of that. If it's kind of a light renovation, you're probably, under $25,000. You're talking just paint, carpet, landscaping, staging, and kind of like just making sure that everything's been deep cleaned. Like, in other words, you're able to save a lot on that. Medium renovation, you're starting to add in a kitchen, a bathroom. Maybe you have to replace the AC. A few more things like that. When you start getting into heavy, you're probably over 60 grand. There's probably a pool. You're doing a full gut job. I mean, it's a big house. That's when you're starting to get anywhere from, like 60 to 85, roughly.
I think, and I've talked to people, I know you've talked to people, they're looking at that big one where they can hit this home run that they think is a home run.
Yeah.
They're looking at the fence and they haven't even actually hit a ball yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Type thing. And that maybe some of these little ones, and would you agree or disagree? Some of these little ones where maybe you make 15, 20,000 after
you can make great
done.
money off little ones. The other thing too is, a lot of people who are just starting to get their foot wet on this is not their full-time gig. This is a part-time thing to where if they make an extra 20 grand, that's amazing. I mean, that's a phenomenal year. For a lot of people, that is. So you might as well learn.
It's a great part-time job.
Great part-time gig, right?
Yeah.
I don't know any other part-time gig that pays like that.
Right.
Over the course of what, 3, 4, 5 months?
Right.
So get a few little ones under your belt and then go for the big, big money maker. The big, big money maker has a lot of things hidden underneath as well.
Well, in talking about greater Jacksonville in general, in the gems, because I think also the fear of partnering up is like, well, if I partner up, I'll only make like $5,000 off of this. Maybe if everything goes right and I'm partnered up, and almost like thinking that's the only dance in town. When really, Jacksonville has a lot of opportunity. Would you agree?
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton. Kind of the way I partner with people. So if I'm JVing with you, you bring me a deal. You've already got contract signed. It's ready to go. I like the house. We've got it signed at a certain number. Whatever you got it agreed upon for is what we'll purchase it for. So I'm supplying hard money. Then we're going in, we're going to do all of the construction. You don't have to fuss with it at all. If you'd like to be there and learn how we're doing it, what the step-by-steps are, who my people are, so that way you have them as contacts later on, amazing. You're totally welcome to be there. But at the same time, a lot of these people have typical 9-to-5s and they don't have that kind of time to be managing a project nonstop, right? So we're taking care of purchasing the home, supplying money, doing the construction on the home, and then also going ahead, rehabbing it, getting it staged and selling it as well. So we're basically taking care of everything. Once everything is closed and funded, we pay you a third of the profit. So if the net profit was $10,000, you're going to make $3,000 just for bringing the deal to me.
Basically.
Yes.
Well, you said under contract. So basically you're taking over the contract, basically? Maybe.
We would be the end buyer on it, yeah.
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 So,
I would put my LLC.
So, play that through so if anyone on here doesn't quite understand. So you see, I see a house. Let's say I see a house but I may not know if there's great opportunity or not. Can I call you in at that time for you to come over and take a look at it and say,
of course.
Yeah, there's opportunity. Are you going to push me out? Or are you going to, because
I don't have time to push you out. I don't have time to go around you to the seller. I'm not into all that. It's also, bad karma down the line, right? No way, not in this business.
Because that would be an obvious fear. People are like, oh, Mercedes is going to come over and she's going to throw cash down on it and she's going to steal it out. So I don't want to call it.
No. I'm more interested in keeping the long-term relationship. If you bring me one and I do a good job on making you money on the one, chances are you're going to bring me more in the future and we're going to keep getting paid together, right? I don't have the time to go around you. I'm not interested in it. But with that being said, if you've never done this before, you just have an idea, oh, at the end of my street, there's a really ugly house. Like, I wonder if I could figure that out. I kind of know the old lady that lives there. I think she was ready to move into a nursing home. And you've never been on an appointment before, you've never purchased a house for cash before, you don't know what a contract looks like, what to offer, anything like that, yes, call me. I've gone on plenty of appointments with people, locked it up, and we make sure that you and I have a separate JV agreement on the side to where you are absolutely locked into that.
I think it probably happens. I'm sure you dealt with this before. The older person passes away, family doesn't even live here, or maybe they do.
Yeah.
They inherit the house. It's totally, needs to be rehabbed.
What's the process there? Yeah. So at that point, then you've got to get it through probate.
Well, it's advanced that. So it's that person now, the son or whatever, daughter.
How are we finding those people?
Well, how would you handle that? Just in case they're listening right now. I inherit my parents' house and I've gone through probate. It's mine and I've got control of it, but I don't have the money to rehab it and get it. If I'm going to sell it, I got to sell it for, well below market of what it could be.
Yep.
Can someone call you to come over and evaluate that and look? How would you handle that?
Absolutely. Those are a lot of the leads that I'm going on appointments for right now. And really what that looks like on the appointment itself is once you've established that connection with the person who just inherited that house, you're walking through what it would look like either for them to go ahead and completely renovate this thing, walk them through what this really looks like. Okay, you're going to take 2 to 3 months of your life. You're going to spend $50,000. You're going to hire all of these people. Then you're going to hire a realtor to sell it. It's a very involved process that a lot of people don't have time for. They have families, they have jobs, they live out of state. They don't have time to be doing all that. Or I'll walk through it. I'll tell you a real number of what I can purchase it for. I'll tell you what I'm going to put into the property, and I'll tell you what I'm going to sell it for down the line. I'm very open with people that I'm in this business to make money.
Well, I inherited that property. Let's just say it's paid off just for the example's sake.
Sure.
Maybe the value right now, you go in there and look, you say, you're at this condition, you're best at 150. If it was up to speed, the kitchen was redone, this and that and the other thing, we could probably get 250 for it. Are you working the deal to cut them back a third of that,
The homeowner?
of basically what would be that extra $100,000?
No, I'm not paying the homeowner profit on it. I'm paying them the initial offer itself. So they're making 150 grand. That's my offer. Now, if someone was to bring me that lead, that whatever we profit off
A
that,
non-homeowner.
the person that's working directly with me on the transaction, they're getting paid the third.
Okay.
Yes.
There are a lot of treasures around.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who know where these treasures are.
Oh yeah.
And obviously they're thinking of just of that themselves, and that, and I know you're not the only one in town, but you're the person sitting in front of me that's educating me right now, and educating anyone that's listening right now. There are people there, they can call you, and you can come over and evaluate. And hey,
We'll work it
for
together
literally a
from there.
referral, and you've got all the contractors and everything else that you've been working for on other flips to bring them right in. Because I think that is this next fear is who do you hire to come in and do these things and actually going to show up?
Actually going to show up, not just going to take, the initial 50% deposit and then walk away and you never hear from them again. I mean, there's so many stories.
Horror stories. Or the painters that come in, and I'll tell you more offline, but my wife and I are flipping a condo right now, which you're making me spin, and I'm like, there might be others in there that we might want to talk about and bring you in on in this place that we're talking about. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just the inconsistent work. And, I understand we have some of our contractors, they have employees who don't speak English or whatever.
Yep.
You can go in there and tell them all you want. We do all the prep work. So they just come in and paint,
Yep.
and they still paint over, and cause a headache later. And you're like, do I call them back, or is it worth that headache? And
Right.
Yeah, that right there, the stress, people, I'm telling you, if you're listening to this and thinking about flipping, I think that's one of the biggest things. Not only obviously finding the treasure, but also being able to call your contractors, come in. Is that the next step?
And
You're
know that it's
calling
going to
them
get
in.
done. Yeah.
So the next step in your process, you found the house, you've done your evaluation, or I assume sometimes you actually call your contractor in to kind of give you some more hard numbers.
So typically the process is we walk the house, we get it under contract, we close it, then I'm having my guys actually go in and start working on it. We're kind of at the point now where I can walk in and I've got a rough idea of what it's going to cost.
Because you've gotten so many.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That right there.
Taking them on appointments with me, that would take them off time that they can be
Right.
working on current flips we have in the pipeline.
Have you ever had one, though, where first thing that pops in my head is like a pool situation? Because, right, when you're renovating, you got a pool situation, something might be hidden. Might recommend calling in that expert to kind of poke that one out?
The funky things are like pools, septic, wonky stucco, wonky foundation. Those are things that, it could be $5,000, it could be $20,000.
Right.
Those are kind of the ones where you have an inspection
or you're filling
period.
in the pool.
Yeah, we're done with that. Never again.
Right.
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
It comes to skate park.
Yeah, exactly.
That is such valuable, and we may want to, maybe in next month or something, is one of the things I'm doing now with some of the agents is not doing, because this will go out to Apple and Spotify and all that stuff.
Awesome.
Is just come on for 30 minutes and we're just talking about some recent renovation opportunities and some stories.
Oh, I got some horror
And we
stories
go
for you. I
live
just
and
closed the bad one.
Yeah. Well, go. Tell.
Well, not bad in the sense we made money, but it was a 10-month long renovation project. And
Because what's your goal? What is your ideal goal in a turn time? Because you say 10 months, and this was it's really.
well, if it's a moderate rehab, if we can have it closed, done in 4 months, that's a good turn time.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's moderate. If it's light, it should be 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 90, 120 days you want it off your books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, you're buying the deal. That's typically 30 days to close. You're renovating it. That's 45 days, roughly, right? And then you're closing it again. It's going to sit on the market for, nowadays, it used to be 3 days. Now it's, 2 weeks to 30 days if you price it right. And then it's got another 30 days to actually get to the closing table. So you're looking, right about.
All right, I'm going to write down
3 to 4
another
months.
question, but I want you to go on. So tell me about the 10 months, because you learned stuff from this. Tell us what you learned from this experience.
I
here.
did learn from this one. I've had plenty of nightmare horror flip stories, just for a multitude of different reasons. This one almost hit every single one of them. So the situation was the woman who lived there had inherited the home from her mother. Mother had passed away. This woman who lived there had 3 other siblings. Those 3 other siblings were all out of state. So now we're dealing with the probate situation first off, right? It's almost done with probate, not completely, but she's already living there, and then you've got 3 other siblings. This is a big house. It's got a pool. It's got a big corner lot. It's probably just under 2,000 square feet, so it's relatively big. And not only is 4 siblings involved, you've also got a daycare being run out of this house. So you're talking about lots of pets, lots of kids, lots of people. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff going on in this house that you're about to disrupt, right? And the reason we're disrupting it is, number one, it needs to go through probate, and she has not paid the mortgage for the last year. So she's starting to be issued pre-foreclosure notices.
We got some little bit of time
We got a time
the
crunch.
essence, right?
We got a time crunch, and the 3 other siblings had no clue this mortgage was not being paid. They were under the impression it was.
Because their sister or whatever was living there.
She was living there, and they're all out of state. They're not. They have no
They're
idea
assuming
what's
she's
happening.
paying the mortgage.
Yes, she's not. So ended up, long story short, they find out she's not because they're getting served these pre-foreclosure notices. I have to then make contact with every single person and get them on the same page. Everyone doesn't like each other. All 4 of them will not speak to one another. So getting them all on the same page to agree to one thing is a nightmare in itself.
Oh, yes, this happens.
It happens.
When there's money involved, the blood runs thin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. And I've seen that plenty of times, but this was by far the worst. In addition to this, I'm also not the only investor working this, trying to buy this house. I mean, there's probably 5 other investors in the city that are trying to buy it. So now I'm being bid up, right, for a house that's in terrible condition. We end up...
Obviously, initial valuation is the mortgage to what it could be. There's equity there.
There is equity there. I do know they all walked away with some money. I forget exactly how much. I bought this in February of this year. It just closed last week. Awesome. So it was a full 10-month renovation. We borrowed hard money on it. So we paid about $27,000 in hard money. So it was expensive, to say the least. Right. But anyway, so we ended up finally getting it under contract.
You're saying that's what what it cost you to borrow the money to buy it?
Yes.
Is $27. So you're
$27 just to pay interest.
Right. So you're working that in your budget.
Yes.
Hey, I got to do all these things, but then what did it cost me to hold that money?
Just to hold it for 10 months. Right. And keep in mind, I didn't plan on holding it for 10 months.
Right.
We'll get to that. Anyway, so I ended up getting them all on the same page, getting it under contract. She was supposed to move out at closing 30 days later. So she was supposed to move out, like March, roughly. And she didn't move out. She just never moved out. So then we had to go and file the eviction process. So, we serve her the letter, but the time that takes, I think it was another month and a half until we were actually able to get her out of there. And then we're left with the project itself. I mean, it was a huge project. I mean, probably $80,000 roughly, 80 to 90. And then finally we got it settled and done. But I mean, that was...
What are a couple key points that you learned from this that entering a similar situation again, you do differently? I would imagine the first thing is her living in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And getting her out.
I would get her out immediately. That's number one. I would have handled things a little bit differently with the siblings. Some of them, I mean, we tried to get them to work together and bring each other in and say, oh, well, so-and-so agreed to this. You should agree to this. Should have never said that, ever. Because the second you tell one of them that, they now are, oh, well, he said yes to that. Well, I say no to that because I don't want him to have any money. I mean, it was a situation like that. So I would have kept them all completely separate.
It just amazes me. But I go
crazy.
Back to the parent. Do your will and put it in stone that that's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever, you like it or not, but they're jealous because their siblings they might get 20,000, they're getting 20,000. Well, you both got 20,000.
You're getting
what
the same
do you care?
amount. Yep.
Yeah.
You would think.
Whether they blow it on a weekend in Vegas or not, that's not your problem.
I know. What do you care?
Yeah.
Your money's your money.
But they do.
Yeah. Oh, they do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that one was rough.
That certainly can happen. And I mean, anyone listening right now, if you're listening what Mercedes tells you, she's done this enough times now. I mean, obviously, you probably still learn something on every flip. It's just we learn something every day. The sun comes up.
Every appointment, every flip, all of them.
But
I learned something new.
But the stress level's down because when that curveball's thrown at you, I go, well, this is how we handled something similar to that the last time. This is how we're going to handle it this time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you probably knew who to call when you had that woman in there. What do I do, right? Because that might be something was that something new? Have you ever dealt with that situation before, where they,
Not to
even though
that
you technically
extent.
bought the house, they're still there?
Normally, I've been able, if we close on the property and they're still there, I've typically been able to like be empathetic with them and get them out and offer, hey, I'll help you move this stuff. I've got a truck. Yeah,
Right.
I've actually done that before.
Yeah.
But I've
You might
been
just do that as a realtor, not just a flipper, but
Yeah,
as a
right.
real
I
estate
mean,
agent.
lots of us in this industry do that. I've done that before, and I've been able to get them out at least within less than a week. This woman was camped out there for over a month. So, I mean, that was something I had never experienced before.
So that delays
Doing
you
a
30,
full-blown
45 days, because by the
eviction.
time she does move out and then you get everyone scheduled to get in there, it's still another couple of weeks before you can get on their schedule, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that's because you're sending them business. We talked about pre-show, since we're joining in on flips. We talked a little bit about that. You're on Facebook. This podcast will have in the show notes your contact information. But like you said, 1/3 of the profits, and even if you make $3,000 or $4,000 off a referral and didn't have to do anything, Mercedes took it basically from literally the 1 yard line, because the referral will say is the first yard.
Yeah.
You're taking it the other 99 yards, and taking it all away and handling all the issues. Some of the people you've teamed up with, they probably want to learn, is why they're
exactly.
working with you, and you're educating them and everything. But like you said, some people are busy. They like looking at real estate.
Yeah.
And find these treasures and take 1/3 of the profit. I mean,
Exactly.
for just
If
having
you
some
want to
fun.
start getting your feet wet in this business, and maybe you've got a few things under your belt, but you really want to start getting to the big leagues with flipping, don't do your first one by yourself. Do it with a partner. Do it with someone who's done it plenty of times before and kind of can help you through the process. Working with me, I'll go on the appointment with you, get it under contract together if you don't feel like we can. If you bring me a signed contract, amazing.
So you're giving them 1/3 just for the referral, which is huge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the real estate agent doesn't get that.
Yeah, I know.
And in the trend, so you're giving them 1/3. How can they graduate up if maybe they have some cash? Right? Or like for myself, I own a couple properties. I have some rollover 401ks, put in a IRA with Equity Trust out of Ohio, and I bought a couple condos that way. You can use those for flips.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's actually the guy who referred me to them was an alumni brother who was using his rollover IRA to buy real estate, flip it, and obviously was building up his IRA because that's where the money has to go.
Right.
But if they start getting a little bit involved with you, I don't know if you've maybe gotten any of these people who kind of graduated up. If they're investing some of their money, what can they do where they get to 50-50 with you and start to graduate to where they maybe after they've done 15, 20 of these with you can kind of spin off on their own?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to start putting some of your own cash into the deal, I'm willing to look into giving you a bigger chunk of the deal. Another thing too, being in this business, a really, really valuable way to make a very safe return on your money, lend it out. Lend it out to investors. I mean, we all need money all the time, right? We're constantly turning and burning. I mean, you can lend your cash out at 10% for 6 months and get a good little return right there. If you're ready to really get your feet wet and you got some cash, I mean, do one yourself. Call me. I'm happy to look at a deal for you. I'm happy to look at numbers, make sure you're not getting into a sticky situation.
You get the house needs rehab. You buy it for $150,000.
Yep.
It needs $30,000, $40,000 in rehab work. Maybe there's, obviously you're always building in a contingency for the unforeseen, right, type thing. So you've got an investor who is funding the 150. You use a different investor, or sometimes the same investor, to fund the actual rehab, or is that more coming or out of your pocket, depending on how big it is? How do you work that?
So the way hard money kind of works is hard money's wonderful because all different people in Jacksonville have different terms. One that I use frequently is 90% of the initial purchase price. So you have to come up with 10% of your own cash. Keeps you a little skin in the game, right?
Because they don't want to deal with the contractors and everything. They got to put you in the game so you do what you're supposed to do.
You've got to have a little something in the deal.
Yeah.
So 90-10, and then the rehab itself 50-50. Now, obviously, all of that is negotiable depending on how juicy the deal is.
How fast you turn it over.
That too. Yeah. And then on top of that, you're typically paying interest. There's some out there that are getting pretty high, 14-3. There's some that are still 12-2. It really just depends on who you're working with. But that's typically what hard money is going for.
Do they evaluate, are they adjusting their terms as as a mortgage lender, the more money you spend, yet technically you might get a little bit better interest rate, but you are borrowing more money.
You are borrowing more money.
Are they evaluating the property, or are you just presenting the project to them and saying, hey, this is what we got?
It depends on who you work with. So there's big hard money institutions that will do a full-blown appraisal on the property. I mean, they want to walk it. They want to see it. I mean, they'll go really in depth because it's their money, right? I mean, it's a lot on the line. You also got guys here in Jacksonville who can look at the address and a picture real quick and then be like, yeah, I'll lend to you on it, no problem. And that's it.
Because you throw them some comps and say, this is where it could be. And
Exactly.
they're
Just depends on who you're
confident
working with.
you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. The fact that you've done it enough times now that you're presenting them saying, hey, I could get this much out of this property right now.
Exactly. And a lot of people actually want to see that. They want to see a flip done in your name. So if you're JVing with someone, make sure that your name is somewhere on that you can take credit for that flip. Because if you're a brand new investor, you've never done a flip before, what's the likelihood someone's going to lend to you on it unless it's a screaming deal?
Right,
If it's anywhere teetering, chances are they won't.
Well, I immediately looked at I'm looking at your headline on your LinkedIn and it said 80 plus flips. I'm like, whoa. And then I scanned down, I see Yellowbird. I said, okay,
Yes.
there's where so to be involved even at just the infancy level, but you got to take those baby steps. And by the time you do get to 80, you could be considered an expert because there's very few people who have gone that many flips.
Yes. And keep in mind, all of my time at Yellowbird, I was partnering, right? I was partnering with those people who already had the connection. So I was just able to, make money off of what I was doing, but also go out and get the next one. I was always hustling for the next one, and I was keeping my pipeline completely full because I didn't have to worry about managing the project then and there. I was already on to the next. Contract signed, great, on to the next. And that's what I was able to do for those first 2 years. Now, this last year, I've really been able to do it start to finish on my own, and that's been a whole different ballgame, but it's been really fun.
Well, that time you got to know people. That's because the key thing is you cannot do this alone. You're not a plumber. You're not an electrician. You're not all these
I don't
other
know how to
things.
do any of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not. You're eventually if you're already funding some of your projects. Eventually, you'll be at the point where you do have this pool of money where you could.
Or I'm lending it out, right?
Yeah, when you're lending it out, or you're able to just stroke your own and save the interest on it because it's your money, right? That type of thing, and you got it to get started. It started with the first referral. God, that's just awesome. That's just awesome. Let's talk a little bit because you and Jana formed, and I was told by Tom Lieber I should have Jana on too.
You
So
absolutely
I'm going
should.
to wait a month or
Jana's
so I don't
great.
have you guys. I do have a lot of people from Keller Williams Atlantic Partners that I've been on the show, but we'll definitely have Jana on. But tell us a little bit about the Flight Group.
Yes.
What attracted you to Keller Williams? Because I think there's some agents out there who, may not be with Keller Williams, or maybe someone thinking about getting into real estate. What was it there, based on the stage where you're at, you had all this experience at Yellowbird and so forth. You said, I think Keller Williams Atlantic Partners is going to be the place, the value where I need to go.
Right. Keller Williams has been great to us. Jana had been with them prior to Yellowbird starting a brokerage. So when I first got my license, that is where I initially held my license with Yellowbird Realty. And we were just, cowboys. We were not doing much by the compliance book, if you will. So that has been a learning curve for me. But Keller Williams has been great in teaching me that learning curve. There's definitely a sense of community. There's also, a name behind it, going on listing appointments and being able to say that I'm with Keller Williams, not who the heck is Yellowbird Realty? What do you mean?
Right.
I mean, that adds a lot of value to my listing presentations.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're a young person. That right now is important. Just in my evaluation, having interviewed 145 plus top producers or whatever in the area, when you're a little more senior, they generally they're looking like, oh, you're seasoned, right? You know your stuff. Where you're a little younger, or do you get that where they're like, does she know what she's talking about? It's type of things. Where obviously Keller Williams props you up a little bit.
Gives you a little something.
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to your actual listing presentation and how you're delivering yourself. I mean, confidence is everything. I'm not afraid to walk into any house and present something. But if you know your stuff, you can be young and be extremely successful in this business. If you know your stuff and you're confident about it, why wouldn't someone work with you? I just had a $1 million listing close yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The confidence came with your at bats. Yellowbird gave you a lot of at bats.
Oh, absolutely.
And
you build
saw.
confidence by doing.
Yeah. For someone coming new in the industry, not getting into a Yellowbird situation where you were seeing all these transactions going on and learning about the flipping and all that, learning more about the business, because real estate is endless thing.
Yeah.
You got to find your
Always learning.
little niche, right, type of thing. But joining because Keller Williams is very good providing the value in training,
Yes.
the mentors and all that kind of stuff.
Phenomenal training. All of the girls on the team right now we have going to a lot of the Keller Williams classes. They rave about them. I mean, they'll do open houses, or they'll do classes on open houses. They'll do classes on listing presentations, on different kinds of loans, on home inspections. I mean, they really, really dive deep, and that's phenomenal. I mean, that's not something I've ever
The
had
contract,
before.
right? Got to know the contract.
Training, yeah. I mean, it's great.
Right.
It really is. Yeah.
How important is it for someone has been in the business, just starting less than a year, to really get their schedule in attending as many that's offered at NEFAR, that's offered in the office at Atlantic Partners? How important is it for them to get just constant, I've heard numerous times, you got to take the contract class 2 or 3 times from 2 or 3 different people, because you learn something every time.
Oh, yeah.
But to understand that this stuff is being provided at a Keller Williams, not all Keller Williams franchises are the same, right? We're talking about Atlantic Partners. There are others. Not saying anyone else in town is bad or anything, but you need to do your due diligence, right? And researching the brokerage. If you were out there, you got a new agent, or you were a new agent looking in, what are some of the questions you would ask? And who would you ask them, or to find out really about a brokerage versus just signing up because your girlfriend works there?
Oh, yeah. You kind of hit on it previously. I think the biggest reason I had a lot of success is because I was seeing so many transactions go on. I was seeing so much turn and burn. Like, I was exposed to all of it very, very early on. I was in a place where it was safe to ask questions too. It's like, yeah, like, these are my people. Of course I'm able to ask them.
Because you weren't butting into the business, because that was the business.
Exactly.
Right.
So I would really emphasize making sure that you're at a place where you feel comfortable being able to do that, and you're able to really just like soak it in. I mean, that first year, you're a sponge. Really the first for life, you're a sponge, right? In this business, truly. But you're constantly just wanting to learn more and more and more. And you'll hear it from different people. You'll see it, if you can get with people who will let you go on appointments with them, oh my gosh, that's the biggest thing. Seeing it in action. I mean, that's the best.
I think you would agree with this, because it's obviously what you just said, but I think I like to say it to be clear to those new agents or someone out. Maybe you've been doing it for a little while now. You've got to find that senior agent who has enough at-bats, they've done enough transactions, and obviously I think most of the people I've had on, I can't think of anyone that I would say, oh, that person wouldn't help you. They all want to help you.
Oh, yeah.
And to team up with that person and really, obviously the grace you give them is obviously when they tell you to do something, you do it. Or if they say, hey, we're going on this appointment, you want to go, yes, and you actually show up 5 minutes early or whatever. They're not with the client and you show up late and it looks bad, it just doesn't look, you don't make them look bad. But if they're willing to pour into you, to, be willing to take it, be coachable, right? That's the athletic term. Someone's coaching you. Absolutely. You try what they're telling you to do. Now, ultimately, what do? You mold it into yourself, right? Every agent's different, but you've got to take those ideas and get it in. But to find that senior agent, or Keller Williams is known. You've got some great teams over there, which brings us to the flight group.
Yes.
Tell us about the breakdown. I noticed the pictures. There's like 5 or 6 of you there, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the flight group. What's the benefits? What are you and Janet trying to grow there, and the value that you would give someone who wants to talk to you, join your team?
Absolutely. We're really excited about the flight group. We just started it July 1st, moved over to Keller Williams. We've really enjoyed Keller Williams so far. Things that we're doing at the flight group that kind of differentiates us just from other real estate teams. I mean, there's a ton of them, right? Especially Keller Williams. We, number one, partner with every single major investor here in Northeast Florida. So I can rattle you a list of all of the
So you're bringing that flipping, that whole Yellowbird, I guess
that's
we'll
our
call it
core,
attitude.
right? We know it. We know it. That's our bread and butter, so we might as well capitalize on it. We know the numbers. We know how to flip it. We know how to sell it. We know how to sell it for top dollar, because that's all these investors are interested in. Of course, we go to direct to seller a lot, and that's probably still 70% of my business, buyer and seller-wise, still direct to seller. But we right now partner with probably the top 7 investors in Northeast Florida, and we sell all of their flips. So that is constant volume, constant accounts, constant business coming in for us. In addition to that, because we were on the investment side previously for so long, we have connections with all of the major hedge funds here. So a lot of them have kind of taken a step back just with the turn in the market. But with that being said, we still have 2 that are actively selling and buying, that we're submitting offers for on properties, that we're listing their houses all over Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. Additionally, the reason we're called Flight Group is because we are sister companies with flight builders. So Pat.
Oh, I thought it was something else.
No, not my flying related at all. Nothing to that.
Ironically.
Kind of cool that it worked out that way. I like it. I love the name.
That's where I thought it came from.
I love the name. I really do. No, but Flight Builders is owned by Pat Flynn. He has... how many? Gosh, he's already got 14 in the works right now. He just started in March. He'll probably have 50 done by the end of next year, 150 done by 2025. We are going to be selling all of his affordable new construction as well. So we've got a lot of partners. We've got all of the flippers. We've got new construction, and we've got hedge funds, as well as listings that we're able to make sure that you get all of the buyers off of. So we're really able to pour into you. We're still small. We have, is it 6 now?
The picture had 5 or 6 in the picture.
Yeah, I think we're up to 6 now. So yeah, Jana and I, we have 4 others with us. They're all killing it. They're all doing great.
Support from transaction coordinator type stuff?
We do have a transaction coordinator. Yes, she's awesome. So you have that. You have marketing behind you. You have accountability as well. I mean, we run a 9 a.m. huddle every morning, kind of just to go over wins from yesterday. Do you need help with anything? And what are your top 3 things that you're focused on? We have a sales meeting on Monday morning, basically going through metrics, because the biggest thing when you're first getting started is you could easily get your license and then sit at a desk and say, okay, now what do I do? If you have no idea what to do, you need someone to kind of propped you into the position to know what to do. So we have goals of how many open houses you need to host every week, how many calls you need to make every week, how many leads need to be inputted, different things like that that are going to basically set you up for success. If you do all of the items, there's no way you're not going to get deals and contracts.
What interests me after learning more about you in depth in your knowledge level, you said you're roughly 70-30, basically 70% from your leads or natural referrals, whatever, that type of thing. But that other 30% is a differentiator. And the fact that you're training them what to hunt for, and because I think anyone who gets in the business, they get in the business because they just find real estate interesting. Yeah.
Don't we all?
I mean, I think if we interviewed every new agent ever, have they ever thought about flipping a home? I guarantee they all have.
Of course.
Or how do you renovate a home?
I'm sure everyone is interested in owning a rental one day, and that's 100%. Stuff that we teach these people. Right. I mean, not only, so when you're first coming onto the team, not only are you obviously going on listing appointments, buyer presentations, you're doing all of the traditional retail agent stuff. You're also following me to the houses that are really, really ugly, and we're, offering.
You got your experience, Keller Williams, backed with the training, because obviously you can't do all the trainings. I mean, and then you don't know everything, and you got.
We're really the accountability piece of it, a couple times a week, to where we're checking in with you. But the actual training classes, I mean, Keller Williams does a phenomenal job of that.
Right. So you've got that corporate structure, and all the other teams that are there, and you're bringing in a lot of knowledge into the office, the top people that are there. But correct me if I'm wrong, someone's, again, an agent looking maybe to move over, or a new agent getting started, and then they go, oh, well, this is something different. Yeah. Because I personally, again, I've interviewed a lot of the top team, not all of them, but a lot of the top team. Yeah. No one is talking the flipping side, because to me, that's almost self-creation, right? Yeah. You're not, you may be farming a neighborhood, you may be buying Zillow, whatever it is, that you're getting those traditional type sales. But when you're driving around, or a friend of you tells you about, there's this house over here, the mother passed away. I know my wife had one recently where the lady was in it, she had passed away, and we were over there doing some like picking the weeds, make sure the pool was clean, because no one's living there, right? And those houses need that you actually, you could self-create another handful of deals just from that because you're keeping your eyes open. You're
Your
being trained to
pipeline
what
is
to look for.
diversified. That's the
Yes.
biggest thing. Like, you're not just going fully retail. You can if you want. I mean, we have girls that just focus retail. Good for them. But you also have the ability to learn how to buy rentals. What numbers do I buy them at? You learn how to flip properties. You have people that you can JV with immediately. You have investors. That is a constant turn of business, right? I mean, they're constantly wanting to buy 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 a month. Those have to be sold. Those have to be turned. Hedge funds. I mean, they're not going anywhere. They're gonna keep coming for, especially
Well, they're
Northeast
buying
Florida.
up property, right? These big guys
They're
are
buying and they're selling. The one that we work with really frequently in Tampa and Orlando, they're actually selling a lot of their portfolio off right now.
because the equity growth they feel is there to give return, but then they're turning it back in and probably
They're
buying
putting
it
that money in, they're
and
buying
buying
more.
the next round.
Yes.
Right. If that is your angle and you're listening to this, I mean, Mercedes and gentlemen, you guys got something. It's different. You're still bringing the general knowledge there, but you're adding this other level that the average team does not have there. And I get calls occasionally that people, that's what they're looking to do. But when about flipping a house, right? But you're okay. Well, you need all this money down. Well, now I know,
It's
right?
so
I know
intimidating.
hey, you need to call Mercedes. She'll go over there and evaluate that property because they've never flipped before, or if they flipped one house, maybe they got lucky. Now, because I think they all want to kill the whale, right? They all want to go after that big.
Don't
they
we
all want to
all?
go buy. They'll get that $700,000 instead of going somewhere near finding that $100,000 to $200,000 home, which was one of my
That's
questions.
where the money is made. In this, when you start getting, especially here in our market, like very top tier properties are probably like 450 and up, right? That's where you start getting into a price range where that's not necessarily like the median of Jacksonville, where the true money.
First-time home buyer is going to have a tough time right now with the interest rates at 450 and really 350 and up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no way. But where the real money is made in flipping is staying in that medium price range because you're opening up that buyer's pool, right? So I mean, if you're flipping properties and you're able to keep that sold price under 300, you're in a very, very, very happy place. Because keep in mind,
It'll sell overnight because there's such a
it'll
demand.
sell overnight. There's more demand. You're paying less in interest. I mean, it's a combination domino effect. You don't have to put as high finishes on it. When you start getting 500 plus, you got to put a lot nicer stuff into it than just builder grade.
True.
Yeah.
100%. Because that was one of the things I wrote down was price point. The home run price point you feel is a house that you could retail under
150 to 300.
150 to 3 retail in that 150 to 300.
Yeah.
So you may be buying it for 100 to 200, depending on, and then evaluating. What would you say? Because I think this is the HGTV question.
Okay.
What is the most important if you're evaluating a house that needs to be when you go in there and look and say, okay, what needs to be redone to bring this up to speed?
Yeah.
Is it the kitchens, the bathrooms, floor? What?
This is the HGTV question.
Yeah, it is.
It's got to be clean. It's got to be pretty, right? The other way that we really do it is when we're pricing stuff, we don't price it the most expensive thing in the neighborhood. I never want to be that. I always want to be.
You don't want to be the white elephant in the neighborhood. Yeah.
I probably want to be 5 to 10 grand off of a comp already sold. That way I know I'm not going to sit for 30 days. I'm going to sell immediately because someone's getting a deal, right? So we price it really aggressively too. But biggest things that get it sold, I mean, honestly, it's just got to be clean and pretty. So kitchens, baths, I mean, they've got to look good. Floor paint, done.
Someone buying in this price range that we're talking about typically doesn't have a lot of cash. First-time home buyers are just people that just have, just the everyday 9-to-5 job. They're being paid hourly or whatever. How important is that, like to go in there, the appliances are new or newer, so they're not going to have something blow up on them 6 months in.
We never want that. Of course, we're doing, repair requests, anything that's like safety, insurance, anything like that. Of course, we're completing them. The other thing we're doing a lot more than we were doing in previous years is we're paying a lot of closing costs. Ton of them. I mean, that's almost standard. We're basically factoring it into all of our offers.
Well,
at this
I mean,
point.
and we're coaching your town bank. I mean, we're talking to agents, to go in with the buy down. Go in when you go to your listing appointment. You're telling them, hey, you need to build in the
Plan
buy
for
down now.
this.
Advertise that because who knows, in 3 weeks or 90 days, you're dropping the price when you could have just put the buy down in there and that's
got it
where
sold
people,
immediately.
Yeah, 100%. Current market, it looked like from some of the, I only see the social media posts and so forth. You had
The highlight reel.
You had a decent year. With the current market, what do you think you're doing differently now that's keeping you on top. If you, I assume you probably, differently, say 18 months ago, definitely 24 months ago, what are you doing differently now to stay on top and keep your production, your pipeline, as you've mentioned?
Yeah. I think if you're constantly watching the news and listening to the gurus, you can get scared really quick right now. Not even just only on the real estate front. I feel like every open house I have mom and dad walk in and say, how you doing? You selling anything? How are these interest rates, doing? And the truth of the matter is it's your reality. It's what you make of it. The more hands you shake, the more calls you make, the more business you're going to have. Of course, there's been a shift in pricing and marketing and how to get stuff sold. That's a given. But truly, if you stuck with your goal from all of these last years, everything kind of coming into one another, if you kept going with it, you're going to be fine. I mean, there's plenty of business out there right now still. There's no doubt.
You might not be selling 3 houses. Maybe you're only selling 2 a month right now. Lance was on here a while ago, and it was all, basically what it broke down is how many people are you, touching or basically contacting or, having conversations with and so forth. And I think anyone looking right now, learning about your team, that whole dynamic of the house flipping and so forth brings up a whole other area of conversation to have with people too, type of thing. But yeah, that was his main point, was how many people are you continuing? If you do get down, you're not making as many phone calls because you're using that as an excuse. Well, they're not going to be interested. Rates are high. They're not going to want to buy. But reality is we don't know what's going on in anybody's life.
You have no idea what's going on. And that's the biggest thing is turn the news off, stop listening to the sad stories. Like we're still turning, we're still burning, we're still going. You just got to keep putting in the work to do it, and it will still come.
Would you agree the real underlying factor is the demand in Northeast Florida is still there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people still moving here.
Right. Every
There's
day.
plenty of business.
There's the business, the pro-business attitude of Florida, but Jacksonville is pro-business. St. Augustine's pro-business.
We're in a very good spot.
People are being moved in, but also corporations are moving people out because that happens too. They move them to other locations or whatever. So you got that constant, and obviously our NAS Jacks and Mayport and so forth, the military constantly moving in and out.
Exactly.
Just that basic level right there. Because I think one of the things here we don't not seeing here recently because of the raids is the local move. Like, hey, I live over here, but I want to move to Nocatee, right? And because
I want to downsize, I want to upsize. Yeah.
My friends live over there, so I'm going to move over there. And when you had 3% interest rates, I was like, well, it's free money. My payment's not going to change. I got some equity now in this home. I could use the down payment, and my payment's not going to change that much. But we don't really have that going on right now.
Not as much of that. Not as much. Yeah. Still a little bit here and there, but not like it used to be. No. Yeah.
All right. We were to work. What's working for you right now? Give your sales pitch. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but give me your elevator pitch as we basically close out here of why someone should come join the flight group.
Why they should join the flight group. Joining the flight group, you're going to be in a spot where we're a tight, united group. We're really, really excited about it. We just got started. We are absolutely enthusiastic about everyone that's coming on and everything that they're doing. I want to pour into you. I had people pour into me, and I know what that feels like, and I know how much success can come from just one person really basically believing in you, both in college and in real estate. And I know what that can set you up for. With that being said, coming onto the flight group, you're going to have so many more opportunities than you would have anywhere else, not just for business-wise, but also knowledge, long-term, what you're going to do, 10 years down the road, what you're going to learn from what we're able to offer you. It's going to be completely different, and we're going to pour into you.
What would you say to someone, because I've heard this out there, because when you're a team leader at Keller Williams, you're not the broker. There's Tufts is the broker, but you kind of take that role to those on your team as if a broker would, being over a real estate office, right? And the fact that you are actually still producing your own stuff. Some of them people have this attitude, though, are you competing against the broker? Like the broker has some inside, they just have more experience.
In some gig,
yeah. Explain, how, when someone approaches like, well, hey, well, if I go over there, Mercedes, she's young and hungry, and she's going to just take my stuff or, not share with me, or, how do you handle that kind of?
Competition is a good thing. Keep that in the back of your mind, because when I was at Yellowbird, I was on a sales team of 12 people, and you're talking about the sales team was not just retail focused. You're talking about, walking through very, very distressed properties. So it's a different sell. It's much more aggressive. So the competition was a lot higher there. So that's what I come from. And I know what that propped me up to do. It pushes you. It makes you better if you're in a team like that. The other thing is where I currently am with the flight group is I'm the one kind of helping you hit your metrics each week. So, if you commit to make 150 calls every week, I'm going to make sure that, number one, you have the data to be able to hit that, but also that you're hitting it. And if you're not, well, we need to have a conversation why we're not hitting it. But I'm doing the same thing, right? So I'm not just preaching, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, look at my numbers too. I'm doing the same thing. There's so much business to go around. I don't necessarily think that it's like, oh, well, she got this, I didn't get this. There's so much business just in our team alone.
What you're bringing to the table, and correct me if I've heard, in our conversation, you've got this relationship with the builder, which is huge.
Huge.
The fact that, again, how long you've been? 2 years now? 3 years?
3.
Is going 3
Roughly
years.
3, yeah.
3 years of being an agent, and you're 25, 26, I assume, just by my evaluation of your age. You've got a relationship like that. So somebody has confidence in you.
Yeah.
And obviously your resume shows the vast experience you have and why they should. Your experience, obviously, in the flipping, which I would guess less than 1% of the real estate agents have that. Because, again, I've had a lot of the top people on them. There's a couple have had on that done some flipping, but not to say they've been involved in 80 transactions at any level, type of thing. And that you are able to pour into them, but you're able to expose them to much a vaster area of real estate than just, hey, I'm taking Zillow leads is what I'm getting from my team. Because that's a lot of the teams, that's what they're doing. They get leads coming in from whatever, and they're in there pounding the phones, and they're,
and it works, and that's good.
Yeah.
We've just taken a completely different model because that is what we have. That's what we currently have available to us. We have builders, we have hedge funds, we have investors. So we're going to pour into that. I mean, between Jenna and I, we typically have anywhere from 25 to 30 active listings at any one time. So with that, those are all houses that can be worked. We're getting calls off the signs. We're doing open houses. We're marketing those to the community. So, I mean, we're constantly having
with just 5 or 6 of you having 20 to 30 the transactions going on at any one time. That's huge. Yeah. So what if someone's looking at it and say, oh, Mercedes is just going to, she's a dominator and I'm going to compete with her. The reality is your plate's full.
Yeah. I want you to have as much opportunity as you can possibly have because I had that gifted to me when I first started. And I know what comes from that. But I also am going to make sure that you're hitting those measurables to be able to have your own stuff coming in. You want those coming in too, because that's truly how you build your business long term.
As a lender, we often, talk about what products we don't have. And when you were talking about the investors and the contacts that you have to make some things happen in real estate, makes me think, a lot of guys will always tell you, mortgage loan officers will tell you that they know the products they don't have. Yeah. It's easier for me to tell you what I don't have because there's only a few things we don't do. Yeah. And every lender has a reason for not doing them for whatever purpose. But the fact that you're opening up, you're like, if I gave the analogy as from the mortgage lending side, the fact that you have all these contacts that just open a whole one, it's not the whole thing of real estate, but a whole another piece of the pie of real estate that most teams are not even tapping into. Right. Because they just don't have the experience.
Agreed. Yeah. Completely.
You have anything you want to add?
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I agree. We could definitely go on. What I really would love to set up is like once a month we could do it virtually right from the day. Just go 30 minutes. We stream it on Facebook, whatever. And of course I could tag it over to your page.
Totally do
and just talk about, hey, this is what I've got flipping right now. This is new experience.
Do you have any buyers? This is going to go live soon. This flip. One other thing I will add before we log off: if you are a real estate agent and you don't necessarily want to JV with me. JV does take time to get paid, right? I said 3 to 4 months roughly. If you want to get paid immediately and you've got that lead already, I'll pay your commission. So we'll pay your 2.5-3% commission, whatever it is. Oh,
so
I mean
cash out.
That's immediate. I've had agents that prefer that just because it's quick, right? So that's another option too.
That's a home run.
It's great.
Yeah, if you don't want to wait the 3 or 4 months, you need cash now. Maybe you don't have a sale this month.
Yeah.
Boom, find a house that needs to be renoed. Awesome. The fact that they could just call you and you can come in with this help and you're reachable.
Yes.
There's other people that do it, but we don't know who they are. You probably know because you run into them at the houses. But the fact that you're out there in your front, obviously on the podcast, hopefully we give you some exposure. But I'd love to give you exposure every month for about 30 minutes. We go on and just do a virtual thing, tell some stories, and say, hey, obviously continue putting the word out there that hey, if you've got something. Because one of the problems we have in Northeast Florida is affordable housing.
I know.
And if you can be one of those people who make a difference and get some of these houses up to speed where a young family doesn't have money to do it, they have a place and then their kids have a place to sleep at night.
Exactly.
That's nice. And I enjoyed this conversation.
I
knew it was going to be a good one. We could talk for another couple hours.
We probably will.
Appreciate you coming on, Mercedes.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
her information, she's on Facebook, Mercedes St. George, which makes me think of an island somewhere.
Sounds like it.
Yes. Actually, I was thinking, with a name like that, that's like a supermodel's name. It's like Mercedes St. George. It's like an actress's name.
I can never change it. I'm stuck with it for life, right?
Thanks for coming on.